So we are at the beginning of chapter 7. So the kind of the thing that we're going to look at, and we'll see how long it takes to get through chapter 7, but this is a section that we are kind of going into this aside again. Okay. So we've gone through the first 6 seals.
Yes.
Okay, and we've seen this great earthquake. We've seen those that have been martyred. We've seen the 4 horsemen, that kind of stuff. And then it says, after this, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth. Okay, that no wind might blow on earth or sea or against any tree. Now, what he's talking about, or what it appears that is being discussed here, is these are 4 massive hurricane force winds from each direction.
Okay.
Okay, they're destructive winds.
Yeah, that makes
Okay.
sense. Hurricane, yeah.
It's not necessarily that there's no wind, but he's talking about these 4 devastating winds.
Okay.
Okay. And of course, let's make sure we understand some of this is idiom. Okay, the 4 corners of the earth. The earth doesn't have corners.
Yeah.
Okay. But
some people would say that's proof of a flat world.
But even flat earthers believe it's a circle.
Serious?
Yeah, they believe it's a ring.
Huh. I can't believe people still think the world's flat.
Well, that one's one of those fun things because they use images from satellites that wouldn't work if the Earth was flat to prove that the Earth's flat. Okay, sorry, but the idea here is, and think about it this way: we're discussing it like a map, 4 corners of the Earth. Okay, they're holding back the winds, the east, northeast, west, and south. So another angel is ascending from the rising of the sun with the seal of the living God. Okay. So see another angel, and it's coming from the east. Okay. Which once again is another idiom because the sun doesn't actually rise. That's our perspective.
Right.
But this is being done from a human perspective. The sun rising, and he has the seal of the living God. Okay. And he called out with a loud voice to the 4 angels who had been given the power to harm the earth and the sea. That's why I say these winds are devastation winds.
Gotcha.
Because he says, hold on, don't. They've been given power to use these winds to harm the earth. Okay. It says, do not harm the earth or the sea or the trees until we have sealed the servants of our God on their foreheads. Okay. So the idea here is until we have marked those
that are coming with us,
right, who are followers of Jesus.
Gotcha.
Okay. Now, once again, I brought this up on Sunday as we were looking through this, is that there are several ways that some people look at these stories, and one of them is, or look at the way the end times works. And there's one that looks at the fact that the rapture takes place at the beginning of the tribulation. There's a group that says, well, maybe in the middle, and there's some that say there's not one at all. So there's some depending there about which one you are part of.
Gotcha.
Okay. So who are these people? Okay. And this is where we have to run in and look at those options. If you believe either that there is no rapture or that the rapture is in the middle, then this could very well be the remnants of the church, okay, that are followers of, okay, they're followers of Christ and they are being sealed. However, go ahead.
But this says that from the tribes of Israel.
Okay. But when we get a little further, we're going to see every tribe, nation, tongue.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's why you're explaining.
That's why I'm explaining it. Okay.
Because I'm not confused. It's just talking about Israel.
Okay. In this location or in this section, yes, he's talking about the tribes of Israel. However, some scholars think that this is figurative. Now, personally, I don't. And there's a couple of reasons, and I'm going to bring it up because it's important that we get this. So it says, until I've sealed the servants of God on the forehead, and I heard the number of the sealed, 144,000, sealed from every tribe of the sons of Israel. Okay. Now, the first discussion is that there is a group within Christianity who hold to what we call replacement theology. Okay. Replacement theology believes that the church has replaced Israel. And so when it talks of Israel here, it's actually talking about the church. Okay.
I don't believe that.
Okay. Nope. I would tell you that I don't think the Bible teaches that. No. Okay.
I think they're talking about Israel.
I think they're talking about Israel. And it's one of the reasons why I tend to, I lean towards a pre-tribulational rapture. Okay. And I take it from the book of Daniel. And so let's go back that way. I think it's Daniel chapter 9, I think. I have to make sure. Yeah, Daniel chapter 9, beginning in verse 24. Okay. You may want to turn there just because it'll be important.
Where is it?
Old Testament, so Ezekiel, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel.
Yeah. Daniel what?
Chapter 9. Okay.
Verse 1?
We'll start in verse 24, although I will give you a little bit of some importance here. There, okay.
24? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 9:24 is where we'll start reading, although I'm going to give you a little bit of background. Okay. Now, at the beginning of chapter 9, we begin, it's the first year of Darius. So it's right after Nebuchadnezzar has been ousted. Or not Nebuchadnezzar, Belshazzar. Okay, it's the first year of the Medo-Persian takeover of Babylon. Okay. Which means that it is at the end of the time frame that the children of Israel are going to be in captivity. Okay. And so Daniel perceives in a book, and it's the book of Jeremiah, perceives that in Jeremiah it says that the desolation of Jerusalem would last for 70 years. Okay. And they're at year 69, I think, at this point. 69 and a half. Okay. Because we know that when Cyrus comes to power and defeats the Babylonians in the first year of his reign, he makes a decree that releases the Jews back to go back home. Okay. So that is the 70th year. Okay. So it says, so Daniel turns his face towards God, and he fasts, he puts on sackcloth and ashes, which is a symbol of mourning and repentance.
Yes.
And he prays this beautiful prayer of repentance. Okay. And he says, and at the end of it, he goes, incline your ear and hear, open your heart to us. Okay. Because he knows that God is going to be done. Okay. So Gabriel shows up, which Gabriel's the messenger angel. Yeah. Okay. And he says, at the beginning of your pleas for mercy, a word went out, and I've come to tell it to you, for you are greatly loved. Therefore, consider the words and understand this vision. And it says, this is verse 24, 70 weeks are decreed about your people and your holy city to finish the transgression, to put an end to sin, and to atone for iniquity, to bring in, yes.
Mine says 77s.
Right, 77. So a week is 7 days.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
The technical term in the Hebrew is 77.
Okay.
Okay. But it means it, but a lot of
Okay,
English
70.
transition weeks.
Got you.
And it's 70 weeks of years.
Got you.
So it's 70 groups of 7 years. Okay. So 70 weeks are decreed to atone for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal both vision and prophet, and to anoint a most holy place. Know therefore and understand that from the going out of the word to restore and build Jerusalem to the coming of an anointed one, a prince, there shall be 7 weeks. Then for 62 weeks it shall be built again with squares and moat, but in troubled times. And after 62 weeks, an anointed one shall come and be cut off and shall have nothing. Okay. Now, here's the fun of this. Okay. So he's giving him a vision of what's to come.
Being Jesus.
Well, that's the first part. Okay. So far we're at Jesus. And by the way, and if you would like more information on this, I can pull the document where I get it from, but I don't have it with me at the moment. So the beginning of this is clear, or at least is understandable. The beginning of this prophecy comes from when Artaxerxes sends Nehemiah to Jerusalem to rebuild the wall. Okay, that's the beginning of this prophecy. So it's about 20 something years forward from this moment. Okay, from where we're at. And it says for 49 years something will happen, or at 7 years something will happen. And then at 69 years, or it's 62 weeks of years is how this works. And it's 430, I don't remember the exact math. Okay. But when you count up the 1 week or the 7 weeks and the 62 weeks here, okay, you find yourself, if you do all the math and all the calendar work and all of that, you come to early spring of about AD 3033, which is exactly when the crucifixion happens.
Okay.
Okay. Which is right at Passover. I'll say it that way. Right at Passover in about AD 30, AD 33.
Gotcha.
Okay. Like I said, I don't have all the numbers in front of me. And then it says, and the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. Okay, so now we've moved forward a few years at this point, because in 70 AD, the Romans come and they destroy Jerusalem completely, including the temple, everything. Okay, they destroy the sanctuary, they destroy the city. Its end shall come with a flood, and to the end there shall be war. So desolations are decreed. Okay. So in the Bible, often when you see flood, it's talking of massive numbers of people.
Like
an army.
Kill off.
Well, an army.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Then it says, and he shall make, and we're talking about this prince who is to come. Okay. Which, by the way, let's make sure we understand. We have had the anointed one already, who is Jesus. So this prince who is to come is not Jesus.
Okay.
Okay. This prince almost certainly, or at least in my opinion, and like I said, it is my opinion, the prince who is to come is speaking of the Antichrist. Okay. Now, watch, because this is the important part. There is exactly 7 years left in the beginning timetable here. We finished all 69. We finished the first 69 weeks of years, and there is 1 week left.
Okay.
Okay. And it says, and he shall make a strong covenant with many for 1 week. Okay. And for half of the week he shall put an end to sacrifice and offering. Okay. And on the wings of abomination shall come one who makes desolate until the decreed end is poured out on the desolator. Now, all of that is very confusing. We're digging pretty deep. Okay. So, what some biblical scholars believe, and what I kind of think the answer here is this. Okay. So, we have these 69 of the 70 weeks come to pass at the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus. Okay. And then we have kind of the beginning of the church age. And then suddenly there is a destruction of Jerusalem and an end to the Jewish people in Israel at 70 AD. Okay. And begins what really is the church age. It's a separation. It's a movement of God that is not reflected with the Jews. Now, can they still be saved? Yes, but God's main work is not with the Jews.
It's with the Gentiles.
Right. Okay. And really 70 AD is a huge turning point in that. Okay. Because by that time, Paul's work is finished. And really the Jews have been scattered to the wind. Okay. So some scholars believe, and it's something we see in prophecy, and it's very important that we understand this, is it's kind of like as the vision is coming to Daniel, that he's looking at a range of mountains in the distance. Okay. When you're at a distance from a group of mountains, they all look like they're at about the same distance from you. But there could be massive valleys in between.
Yeah. But they all look like
it looks like a flat panel.
Yeah.
Okay. So what some scholars think is going on here is that in a way, God stops a clock at the beginning of the church age. Okay. So we go forward and we come to the point where the rapture occurs and the church is removed. Okay. There's a place where it's speaking of, in Thessalonians, where it's speaking of the Antichrist. And it says the Antichrist can't come until that which is restraining him is removed. Okay. Well, it can't be the Holy Spirit because it speaks of salvations within the tribulation. And if the Holy Spirit is removed completely, then there is no salvation. Because Jesus says, unless the Spirit draws, no one comes to the Father.
So what do you think is restraining it? The church?
The church.
Okay.
Okay. So in kind of two ways, as the church comes to the point where God raptures the church, it restarts this clock.
For the Antichrist to come.
Well, for the Jews.
Oh,
okay. And the tribulation, while it's not restricted only to the Jews, the primary purpose of the 7-year tribulation is to fulfill the prophecies to the children of Israel that have not yet been fulfilled.
Gotcha.
Okay. For example, several times in the Old Testament it says, and they will look upon the one whom they pierced, and they will weep. Okay. Because they missed him. Well, so what some scholars believe, and kind of what I hold to as we look at this, we'll go back to Revelation 7 now. Okay. Is that sometime near the very beginning of the tribulation, okay, there will come a moment where the Jews will realize
that they messed up and that he was really,
or at least a group of them will. And what will begin that is that God will call out of the nations of Israel 144,000 missionaries out of the nation of Israel. Okay, so this 144,000 is a specially called group out of the nation of Israel to go and spread the gospel throughout the tribulation.
I like it to miss that.
Okay. Now, a couple of the reasons why I say that some say it's not. The tribe list is not actually completely correct. Okay. Now, so let's go through them. We have 12,000 from the tribe of Judah. We have 12,000 from the tribe of Reuben. Okay. We have 12,000 from the tribe of Gad. We have 12,000 from the tribe of Asher. We have 12,000 from the tribe of Naphtali. We have 12,000 from the tribe of Manasseh. We have 12,000 from the tribe of Simeon. We have 12,000 from the tribe of Levi. We have 12,000 from the tribe of Issachar. We have 12,000 from the tribe of Zebulun, 12,000 from the tribe of Joseph, and 12,000 from the tribe of Benjamin. There are 2 of the 12 tribes of Israel who are not named.
Really?
Now, first of all, the first tribe that we don't have named is Ephraim. Although, remember that Ephraim and Manasseh are the children of Joseph. They are actually Jacob's grandchildren.
So maybe they fall in
Okay.
different tribe.
So here's.
Oh, wait, how come I count 12?
There are 12. There are 12 names. Okay. What is the thing that is true about Levi that's not true about any of the others?
They're all the priests.
And they don't have any land inheritance of land.
Yes.
Okay. So we have Manasseh. Ephraim is represented not by name, but instead is called the tribe of Joseph. One of the possible reasons for that is Ephraim is the tribe that led the northern kingdom into apostasy.
Oh, so they forget all about that.
So they're.
I didn't catch that.
Ephraim is the tribe that led the northern kingdom into apostasy. The golden calves.
Oh.
Okay, so it is a descendant out of the tribe of Ephraim, and Ephraim was the main group that separated itself from Judah and Benjamin, and then the rest of the tribes followed him. He didn't want to lose them back, so he said, well, instead of them going to Jerusalem to worship in the temple, we'll build 2 sites for the golden calves, which is what started the northern kingdom down its road to destruction. Now, can anyone pick out the other tribe that's missing?
No, but this,
Okay.
I can see one that doesn't look right to me.
Which one?
The
No, that one's correct.
That one's correct.
It's the tribe of Dan.
Oh yeah, the tribe
So
is missing.
Levi takes the spot of the tribe of Dan. Now here's the other fun part. There were 2 sets of golden calves. One was placed in Ephraim.
And one was placed in Dan.
One was placed in Dan.
But okay, so they took those 2 out. And how come we still have 12 names?
Because you added Levi.
Okay, that's 11.
Mm-hmm. And Joseph takes the place of Ephraim. See, technically Manasseh and Ephraim would be the tribe of Joseph. But instead of naming Ephraim, they name him Joseph. Because remember that there are 12 brothers.
Yes.
Okay.
Which represent the 12 tribes.
Right. 12 brothers and a sister is the makeup of the family.
Okay.
Okay. Joseph is sold into Egypt,
Yes. Who goes?
and he has two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And Ephraim's the one who goes back to the cows, or
Well,
whatever,
but
you
the
know.
thing is Levi doesn't get any land because his inheritance is God.
Yes, it's God. So he gets part of everybody's land.
Joseph gets the double portion of he gets the double portion.
Okay.
Okay. So as his was the double portion, they went in and made the tribes his children, Ephraim and Manasseh.
Gotcha. And Manasseh's represented.
Manasseh is represented, but Joseph takes Ephraim's place.
Gotcha.
Okay. Now, like I said, we don't know exactly why, and some will say, well, it's not even the right 12 tribes out of they missed a tribe here, so he's just using those names as a figure to. I don't believe that. I believe that, as I said, the reason those two tribes are not named is because those were the two tribes of the golden calf apostasy.
Yeah, they were disinherited.
Why is it important that there be 12? I mean, all through it talks about the 12 tribes.
So
12 and 12.
it is simply the way it seems to work with this idea. Okay. As far as reason, that's what God chose.
Same with the apostles, right?
Okay, because there's 12 tribes of Israel and there's 12 apostles.
Mm-hmm.
And
so I say it seems like
right.
It's a theme all the way through.
And it is a theme throughout. As far as the reason that God chose to do that, I couldn't tell you.
Because 13 is a bad number.
But understand that part of that discussion, you've hit the nail on the head as to why that's true.
Yeah, because 13 is an even number.
Okay. So it's the same reason that 6 is not a good number.
Yeah.
Okay. 6 is one less than 7. 7 is the biblical number of perfection. 6 is one short.
It's one short.
It's the number. And by the way Revelation talks it's the number of man, because man is short of perfect.
6 is number.
6 is number of man. That's why the 666 thing is. It's 6 is the number of imperfection.
Yeah. I'm so glad
3 6s in her social security number.
I'm so glad I didn't put those 666 on me.
So I will tell you though that there are so many fun. We'll get to some of that, but that whole discussion is one of the most distractive elements out of the entire book of Revelation, is trying to figure out who's going to be
666.
There used to be a road in New Mexico, 666 over by Gallup, and they changed
the
it.
highway to hell. Yeah.
Not 20 years ago, they changed it.
That was actually an episode on Supernatural. I think they were even at that.
But by the way, just so that you can laugh about this, there was a big movement in the 80s that Ronald Reagan was the Antichrist because he had each of his names had 6 letters.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the Antichrist. And by the way, that will come up a lot in our culture of, oh, he must be the Antichrist because of this, or he must be the Antichrist because of this.
But doesn't that like border like numerology?
Oh, yes.
Like, and I don't believe in any of all that. The horse
now, like I said, there are numbers within the Bible that are important. Okay. And especially in books like this. Like I said, 7's the number of perfection.
Yeah.
Okay. 10 is the number of political power. So when you see like one of the beasts has 10 heads and 10 horns.
Oh, that's why.
Okay. Or at least it seems to be that.
Reagan scheduled all his speeches and stuff using numerology and using.
Serious?
Yeah, no, she was big in. Yeah.
I
think that was just another thing to add to that 666. You know, she was messing with that.
So, but anyway, what I believe is that we are literally talking about this group out of the tribes of Israel who are going to
Gonna
become missionaries for, okay.
And okay, this is a question that you might not have an answer for.
Okay, that's fine.
But that's not counting the Messianic Jews now.
So
Am I saying that right? The Messianic, the ones that
so if you believe that there's a rapture before, then the Jews now will be raptured with.
Oh, the ones that already believe in Christ.
Right.
So these numbers are just for the later.
That's my, like I said, that's my opinion.
I tend to
Okay.
lean to the rapture before because I figure my life's already been in trials and tribulations.
You know,
Nothing
it
God's
has to
gonna
be
do.
an absolute honor to be the ones that are gonna stay.
You know it.
But it's also gonna be very scary.
Sorry,
I
I'll
don't
check
think
out
I could
first.
do it.
That's been my biggest fear. That was my biggest fear when I became a Christian, is that was what's gonna be me. I was gonna be stuck during 7 years of trials and tribulations because I'd probably be good at it.
So then we move in verse 9. Okay. It
Nice.
says, and after this I looked, and behold, a great multitude that no one could number, from every nation, from all tribes and peoples and languages, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes and palm branches in their hand. Okay. So now we've had this 144,000 out of Israel.
Yeah.
And then we see a multitude that no one can count.
So they've just added to the rest of us.
Okay. But here's the thing. Later in the book of Revelation, they number an army of about 20 million. Okay. But this is a number that no one, this is this is beyond counting.
Beyond count.
Okay. And it says, they are crying out with a loud voice, salvation belongs to our God who sits on the throne and to the Lamb. Okay. So they're calling out praises to God and to the Lamb. The angels standing around the throne and around the elders and the four living creatures. So now we get a little more of a picture of the throne room again. We have the elders, we have the four living creatures, and then outside of them are a multitude of angels. And they all fall on their faces before the throne, worshiped God, saying, Amen. Blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be to our God forever and ever.
Okay, so all the ones in the white robes are angels?
No.
That's just us.
So, well, I would tell you,
Or people
no,
that came
not us.
Came
Okay.
before us. People that came.
No. So here's why I say that. Then one of the elders addressed me saying, so one of the 24 elders come to John and say, who are these clothed in white robes and from where have they come? Okay, so who are these people? Now watch. The elder comes and asks John,
who are they?
Who are these? And he says, well, you're the one who knows. Sir, you know. You're the one who knows. And he says, these are the ones coming out of the great tribulation.
So there's going to be that many people saved during the tribulation.
That's what this seems to indicate.
Oh, that is pretty awesome.
Okay. They have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Now, here's some of the fun part of this. Okay. And I mentioned this a little bit. One of the things that we don't know, because the Bible doesn't clearly discuss it completely, is that it is the church that is the bride of Christ. Okay. And there are moments within Revelation where the church is separated from this group. That these are the tribulation saints. Now, I would tell you, I think they're still the bride of Christ, but we have in the middle of all this happening on earth, we have a picture several chapters later of a massive wedding banquet taking place in heaven for Christ and the bride.
There's gonna be food.
Okay. Also, it is some of this group that are given dominion within the 1,000 years. Now, I'm not saying we're not, but it's the ones that Revelation specifically speaks of, and that is the group coming out of here. Okay. And by the way, it also appears that as we deal with this, is that there will be some amongst this number, this multitude beyond the counting, okay, who will actually survive the entire 7 years and will actually be alive on earth
When Christ comes back.
during the millennial reign, which also means it is some of their children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, all of that,
Yeah.
that will rebel against God.
In the final battle.
And by the way, there's some interesting elements in some other passages that talk about what appears to be this period of time, because it talks about people living 600-800 years again, and saying that if you only live to be 100, you're cursed. And so there's some theologians who believe that during the millennial reign that you have 100 years to accept Christ, and if you don't, you die.
Wow.
And so we don't know
I
all
don't
of
want to live that long. I'm sorry. I want to be gone
So-
before that. Thank
so
you.
we don't know all of that.
Okay.
But imagine this, though. It is a world that is ruled by the Messiah. It's not the same as here.
I wonder if they're going to write a new Bible for the millennial age.
No,
No?
because it says, but this is another one it says. It says, as long as there is time, this book never changes.
Wow.
As long as there is time,
This book never
this
changes.
book never changes.
So it's timeless.
This
That's
is
a cool
this
thing
is the
too.
perfect revelation of God. Okay. Now, once we get to heaven, it says that we'll just know him.
And I think that's going to be awesome to just know him.
But anyway, to finish this chapter, it says, therefore they are before the throne of God and serve him day and night in his temple. And he who sits on the throne will shelter them with his presence. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more. The sun shall not strike them, nor any scorching heat. For the Lamb in the midst of the throne will be their shepherd, and he will guide them to springs of living water, and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Okay.
That's pretty awesome, though.
So it is not, like I said, we are dealing with a book that has a lot of places where it's hard to be exact.
Yeah.
Okay. And like I said, any interpretation that you give is going to be opinion,
Yeah. Because nobody knows for sure.
because nobody knows.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. We technically have 15 more minutes. Let me just do these first couple of verses and we'll finish the trumpet. We'll finish the seals. It says, when the Lamb opened the last seal, okay, the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. Then I saw the 7 angels who stand before God, and 7 trumpets were given to them. And another angel came and stood at the altar with a golden censer, and he was given much incense to offer with the prayers of all the saints on the golden altar before the throne. Okay, so this is a transition that we're dealing with. He opens the last of the seals, and there is this half hour of silence, almost to the idea that heaven is holding its breath for what's coming next.
It's pretty awesome.
Okay. Then he sees 7 angels who are standing that stand before God, and they are each given a horn. probably in this case a ram's horn. Okay. Another angel came and stood at the altar with a golden censer. So think of, when you think of censer, almost the best way to think of a censer is when you think of in Roman Catholic,
Yeah.
is that thing that they,
Oh,
okay.
Well, I think
And
it's
so
something
they
like that.
burn incense in it.
Yeah.
It has an incense pot that they burn, and as you on
Walk.
a high mass, you will see smoke coming out of that as they walk down.
They walk down and
Okay.
it swings and smoke.
It is, and by the way, this is always part of this, all the way back to the tabernacle. Incense, or the smoke of burning incense, is a representative of praise and worship and prayer.
Yep.
Okay, and they bring it up. Much incense to offer with the prayers of all the saints. Okay. And he offers it on the golden altar before the throne. And the smoke of the incense with the prayers of the saint rose before God from the hand of the angel. Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and threw it on the earth. There were peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and once again, an earthquake. Okay. So when we get to the next verse, we're going to see now the seven angels who had the seven trumpets prepared to blow. So we're ramping up again. Okay. We have the sealed, and this is a good way to think of them, the sealed judgments.
Yeah.
Okay. And now we're going to have a set of trumpet judgments. And then, right. And then after that, we're going to have a set of 7 bowl judgments.
Got you. I
Now,
remember that.
when we get to the bowl judgments, there is an additional element that comes into this, which is important. When we come to the bowl judgments, the bowls are filled with the wrath of God. Okay? Because it says, and by the way, this is where it comes from in the song, that there is a wine press of the grapes of wrath. That's where the movie title comes from, all of that. It's a biblical idea, is that the wrath of God is like grapes, and that they have been pressed so that wine comes out. And it's a wine of God's wrath. Okay, and so what we're seeing is, and this is part of this discussion, as these judgments are occurring, mankind is being given one last chance to choose a side. Okay, that is a primary element to all of this, is that as we are moving forward with this book, we are finding that there is a point at which every person must choose what side they're on. Okay, remember, as we get a little further, we're going to come into this whole idea of being marked.
Yeah.
Okay, we've seen the first one. We have seen a mark
on the foreheads.
On the foreheads of all those who are followers of Jesus.
Yes.
Now, whether it is like some books have portrayed it, where it is we will actually be able to see a mark on their head,
like a brand,
so that we all know that we're fellow believers, or whether it's just a spiritual mark, that is one side. Okay, and then somewhere around the middle of the tribulation, there will come a point where the other side will have a mark that is visible to everyone, and they will take away your ability to buy and sell, and
which they're trying to do now.
right. So you can't buy, you can't sell, you can't travel, you can't, if you don't have that mark. But when we get to that point, I will tell you that one thing that is very clear in the book is, if you take that mark, you have now officially disqualified yourself from the other.
Gotcha. But pre-tribulation people, if you believe, if that's the way it works, we won't even be here for that.
They would, right. Okay. But here's the thing. We need to be careful.
Now, just in case we're not yeah.
Well, but more than that, okay. What is the discussion here? We need to make sure we're living as though we are on the side that we're on.
Yeah.
We don't know. It's just there is no way to know for sure how that works. But what we're dealing with is we are dealing with a period of 7 years in which God says everyone must choose a side. No more standing on the fence.
Yeah.
Okay. That is a major element to all of this.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure we're watching for it. Okay, we're going to stop right there. We'll pick up at chapter 8, verse 6 next time.